Welcome to Breakdown, JJ. It's Wednesday, February 26, 2025. We're going to break down the war, the battle between the SEC, the Big Ten, like we do every podcast, every episode. Ready to get it done?
I'm always ready.
Let's do it then.
Let's do it.
Let's start with revenue sharing.
Revenue sharing.
That's a word that we will become a term we become very used to this year, beginning this year, especially in football season. So, what's going on with revenue sharing in college in the world of college athletics?
Revenue sharing in the world of college athletics is hitting a kind of a fever pitch because, it was just announced that how long ago? Like, was it 3 weeks ago? It was announced that Title IX does not. The revenue does not have to be distributed to reflect Title IX or whatever. And
that's a biggie too.
That's a huge deal. So it's kind of up to them to distribute the NIL budget as they see fit. And it was recently released. I think you sent it to me. NIL, like a hypothetical suggested breakdown of allocation of funds, which had football taking in 77% of the NIL budget, at just a little bit over 14.5.
And what revenue sharing is basically was House versus NCAA House, and where that they won, so that colleges will be able to distribute revenue to their athletes up to this year, close to 20 million, and they say by 2030 it'll be 30 million that they can distribute, and they're going to break it down by sports and things like that. And you said the recommended breakdown for men's football was, did you say 75%?
A little bit over 77%.
77%.
And it was a little bit more than 14.5 million allocated for 105 person roster.
And that's right. The scholarship roster went up from 85 to 105.
Yeah. So
JJ, can I go back to school and give me some of that money?
Well, let's lace them up. How much eligibility you got?
What position would I play? I won that. That's okay. We won't go there. But money's looking good if you're a high school student or a college student, athletically inclined, gifted by God. Go get your money.
Yeah, go ahead and profit off your name, image, and likeness.
Go get your money. And it's not the NIL this year. It's the revenue sharing. There still will be NIL.
Of course there will be.
But a lot of the NIL will be decreased. It won't all go to athletes like it did in the past.
Yeah, that's true.
And more going to be the revenue sharing. So, JJ, what is revenue sharing going to do for college athletics?
Well, it'll reduce the money that head coaches get. If you look at like the professional landscape, coaches don't make as much as the best players. In an open market, world, to be honest, a quarterback is, unless you're Nick Saban, unless you're like one of the few outliers, a quarterback, an impact edge rusher, there are certain positions that are just going to have more intrinsic value than the actual person in charge, quote unquote. So that's going to be an interesting reflection once you will have point guards and quarterbacks and things of that nature making as much, if not more, than their head coaches.
Okay, that probably is going to be one impact. Let me tell you another one impact that's going to happen.
I'm all ears. Tell me what you know.
The gap between the haves and the have-not is going to increase. But we'll see how much it increased, because on the surface, you would think it's going to even the playing field out. Mm-hmm. But the way I interpret all the things I've read, it's going to increase that gap because you still got the NIL collective there for you. And schools like Ohio State and Michigan who have a ton of money, NIL collective and things like that, plus the revenue sharing, more power to them, because they're going to be able to give money, $10 million to a high school quarterback, for instance.
That's true. And in some ways, you're right about the haves and the have-nots. But if you look at an institution like BYU, who is just able to pay $7 million.
Basketball player.
Yeah, they paid $7 million to rent a basketball player for 1 year. BYU, I mean, they have the fun. They have the Mormon Church backing them up. But there aren't a traditional have in the world of athletics. They've never been to a Final Four. They did win the championship in 1984 that one year, but the 80s were just real weird. I think in 1982 a kicker won NFL MVP. I don't know what was going on. I wasn't around yet, so don't blame it on me. Um, but things were just really different, and BYU hasn't really had the sustained success of a blue blood in either football or basketball.
Sure.
But they have the financial resources to go ahead and go make themselves part of the conversation, like they did with that basketball player.
And in basketball, you don't have to have
as many.
You can just get one or two good players and make some big noise.
Absolutely.
Remind me of Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan, but they had more than just one or two. But you get my point. JJ,
That.
Are you happy with the way college athletic in general is progressing?
It's just I never would have thought it would have went like this. I am happy that the people that are making the biggest sacrifices with their bodies are generating the revenue, and they're having an opportunity to make money. And I like that more doors are being open for people that traditionally weren't open for it. I mean, because as we know, like there's only a select few sports which didn't allow you to be.
You have to be like 3 years out of high school to go to the NFL to make money.
Yeah, there's only a select few that sports. Coincidentally, sports with the highest participation from certain demographics. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why that is, but like in tennis, you can go pro at 15 if you want to.
Exactly.
So I do like that. If the NBA is gonna have a rule where you have to wait a year after high school, I like that. You can go to college. You can go to a traditional institution.
Where your value is you get paid for your value.
Yeah, you get paid for your value, and you can go to the same place that your best friend, your best buddy went. From you in homeroom with or whatever. You guys can go to college together. You don't have to get drafted and go halfway across the world at the age of 18 to Australia or whatever. You can stay in America, and I really like that.
I do too. The one thing that I do not like is the free agency.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's chaotic.
In professional sports, you sign a contract and you can't just up and say, "Well, I'm leaving after 1 year" if you don't sign a 2-year contract or whatever. But aside from that, I love it that the players are getting their money.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that much I really, really, really love, and that's the way it should be. And I say, get your money.
Yeah.
But JJ,
Dad,
it is still February.
It is still February.
But the insanity is right around the corner.
Yes.
And we'll talk about that. Let's talk about it right now.
Let's do it.
Before we get into, I wanna go back to a game played last Friday. Michigan hosted Michigan State.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. At the time, first place Michigan hosted. At the time, second place Michigan State.
Michigan State. How impressed were you by Michigan State? I know you're a Michigan fan. So did Michigan State impress you in their win?
A couple of players really did. A couple of players that they're going to need to step up, stepped up. And they weren't starters, but they were backcourt players. As you know, I think that in March, your team goes as your backcourt goes. And I haven't really seen the consistency from scoring from the backcourt that I have wanted to out of their traditional start, traditionally out of the starters, Jaden Akins and Jeremy Fears. Recently, they had and started. They inserted Trey Holloman into the lineup initially, and I think that gave him a little bit more of a scoring punch. And recently, they've inserted Jace Richardson into the lineup, and that gave him even more as a starter, and that gave him even more of a scoring punch. And Izzo basically let it be known that the whole team knows that it is now Jace Richardson's team. He has earned it over the course of the season. And even though he is a freshman, for the head coach, a 70-year-old head coach that's won a championship, that's been through any and every war that you would want a basketball coach to go through, to have that confidence and faith in a 18, 19-year-old freshman is that's saying something. I mean, they're a top 15 team.
Okay, JJ, how dangerous will Michigan State become March? When the madness began.
I think everything is matchup based, but
I've heard you say that before.
Trey Howman went and got 18 against Michigan at Michigan. Jace Richardson as a freshman at Michigan went and got 21, 20. He got 20 something.
Yes, he did.
As a freshman into a hostile environment. So, I don't think that they're gonna have anything that phases them. They have a coach that's been there, done that. They have quality backcourt depth. I mean, they have really good players. They have guys that will play in the NBA. I think Akins will be a rotation guy in the NBA, and I think Jace Richardson will be eventually a starter in the NBA. So I think that you guys have talent. I haven't said anything about Cooper yet, but I think he's an incredibly valuable.
My bad. Go ahead.
Carson Cooper. Guy out of Jackson, Michigan, hometown hero. But his play specifically on defense and just his way, he plays with a very high basketball IQ, and he sets picks and he he'll box guys out, and those things aren't in the stat sheet, but he just does them on time. He's where he's supposed to be when he's supposed to be every time, and you can't quantify a value in that.
Okay, JJ, the Big Ten, Michigan State's in first place right now.
Mm-hmm.
Michigan in second place with the same conference record as Michigan State. Michigan State holds the tiebreaker. Then there's Wisconsin, Maryland, UCLA, Purdue, Illinois, and Oregon. How do you forecast? What's your prognostication for the Big Ten once the tournament starts? And there's, like I said, but most teams there's 4 games left. So that's this week, next week, and then you got your conference conference tournament, and then you got the madness.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, the Big Ten, it won't have the pressure that it normally has. True. I think last year they got the most teams into the tournament. They won't be getting the most teams in the tournament. We'll talk about the SEC later. Again, some more later, but they're not going to have the pressure. They don't have a favorite to win the championship right now. I think their highest projected seed right now is Michigan State as a 2 seed, but I don't think that they're necessarily. That means you're one of the 8 best teams in the country, or 8 top teams, but it doesn't mean that that you're one of the 5 teams with the that are being betted on to win.
Well, JJ, with like as I said earlier, with about 4 games to go in the regular season, how many teams or which teams in the Big Ten do you think have a legitimate shot to make it to the Elite 8?
Even though Purdue has...
And I know you're going to say matchup, but go ahead.
Yeah, yeah.
Aside from matchup.
Yeah, that's a disclaimer you can say for
exactly.
every single team.
Exactly.
I think even though Purdue has been fading, I do think that once they get out of the slog that is the Big Ten, once they get a little bit free and loose, I do think Matt Painter is a tournament coach. I think they do have a first-team All-American in Braden Smith. I think they have talent. I think that they have the ability, depending on the size of the team that they match up against. I think they don't really have a lot of size, and that's been an issue that they've faced. But I think that Purdue has the opportunity to do that. Illinois is I think that I'm finally off the Illinois bandwagon.
Oh, thank you. Okay, go ahead.
I think they have a lot of talent. I think they have a really good coach, but it doesn't always work out. They're not a complete disaster like Rutgers, but they're just not congealing the way that I had thought that they would by now. So I'm gonna get off the Illinois bandwagon, but obviously Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin.
They're in 3rd place right now.
Yeah, they have the highest net ranking or whatever of any team in the Big Ten. 11th in the country. They just have a lot of talent, and they lost AJ Storr. They lost.
He went to Kansas.
He went to Kansas, and
has not produced that much.
He has not helped Kansas.
But that's another story.
That's another story for another time. But yeah, Wisconsin has found a way. They're the team that they're having the results that I expected from Illinois after early in the season. Once Illinois had to rebuild their team. Wisconsin didn't have to completely rebuild their team the way Illinois did. They didn't lose, Terrence Shannon and $2 million man to Kansas State, but they did have to replace a lot of talent and good credit to Greg Gard.
Okay. So those are only 2 teams you think can make it to the Elite 8? You mentioned Purdue and Wisconsin.
Well, we had mentioned Michigan State earlier. I think Michigan State has the ability to make it to the Elite Eight.
Okay.
I already told you about their guards.
Okay.
I think Trey Holloman can get a bucket. In the mid range. I think he can get into the paint and he can hit that little fadeaway reliably, consistently. And I think Jace Richardson can score at all three levels.
Okay. So right now I'm looking for the pop teams in the Big Ten, and you don't have to give me a detailed analysis, but just give me some names. You've given me 3 names so far. You mean Wisconsin, Purdue, Michigan State.
Mm-hmm.
Can anyone else in the Big Ten? This is just your own personal opinion. Early in the year, that's all to play. Can make it to the Elite Eight.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the other 2 teams that are currently ranked. I'll throw Maryland and Michigan in there as teams that depending on the right matchup. I mean, Michigan still does have matchup problems.
Indeed,
they do.
Michigan, you said earlier, JJ, that come March, it's the guards that leads the way.
And Michigan has a 7-foot guard.
Well, they don't have the typical guard.
Yeah.
While he's 7 foot, there are some advantages and disadvantages. I think Michigan has a great coach. I think they produce. I don't think they are ready for the Elite Eight.
A coach who will not be leaving for Indiana. He just signed a contract extension.
Okay. An ex-Indiana Hoosier.
Yeah, an alum who.
Alum, yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Who did not take the Louisville job this past year because he didn't want the fishbowl nature of that. He wanted to, have the opportunity to not be like the main event. He gets to play second fiddle to the football team in Ann Arbor, And Indiana, we all know, even though they made it to the playoff for the first time and won 10 games for the first time.
Okay, JJ, let's go to the SEC.
They're a basketball school.
Let's go to the SEC.
Let's go.
First place, that state of Alabama has Auburn, and then Alabama, then Florida, Tennessee. What happened to Florida last night?
Yeah, Florida, they were down 26, came back to the lead, and
down 26 points to
their arch rival, arch nemesis, Georgia, the Bulldogs,
and their
former head coach, Mike White.
Coach in Georgia used to coach Florida.
Yeah.
They were down 26.
Down 26 points at one point in time.
Came back and took the lead.
Came all the way back, took the lead, and ended up losing the game at the end.
So that sounds like to me, if you beat your arch rival like that, who was rated number 4, I believe, in the country, you're going to storm the court, right?
Yeah, and they technically did. We talked about storming the court.
Well, in the SEC, you get fined if you storm the court 90 seconds after the game is over.
That's true, and it compounds.
That's true. Each offense. So what happened? What happened with the Georgia-Florida game after the game was over and Georgia won?
Well, before the game was technically over, the AD during the timeout got on the microphone and asked the fans to. He negotiated. He bargained. You don't negotiate with terrorists, but he did it with some college students and said, "If you guys wait, give us 90 seconds and wait until until Florida can vacate the premises or whatever. I'll give one lucky student $10,000." And apparently, $10,000 was the number that made it work, because even though they were there were a bunch of rabid dogs being held back behind the gate, they did wait behind. They did wait until Florida exited the premises to storm the court.
So JJ, picture this: you're a college student. Your team just defeated the number 3, number 4 team in the country, your arch enemy. You ready to go? It's just the nature of fans to storm the court, the floor, whatever. And then this guy came in and said, "I'll give one lucky student $10,000 if you guys do not storm the court." Now, could he have gotten away with it by saying $5,000?
Missouri's coach, Dennis Gates, got away. He didn't even give them anything.
So the athletic director at Georgia could have saved $10,000, you telling me?
Well, Dennis Gates, that I'm referencing the game against Alabama. They blew out Alabama and won by about 20. Yeah. He got on the mic before it ended and said, "Hey, we need that NIL budget."
Don't storm the court.
Don't storm the court.
Yeah.
And Kirby Smart was actually at the game against Florida, because obviously, Georgia Bulldogs have to stick together, and Florida is their arch nemesis, and he definitely did not want those students to mess with his NIL budget. So he was like, "Do not." Do not. He got on the mic as well and then encourage the
But JJ,
body.
give me. We know that the SEC will probably get more teams in the tournament than anyone else. Give me 4 teams that have, and you could probably give me more than 4, but I only want 4 who has a legitimate shot in your mind of making it to the Elite Eight right now, as of today.
I mean, I think the obvious answer, the first team out of my mouth would be Bruce Pearl's Auburn Tigers.
Okay.
I
I think everyone will agree. Before you go on, JJ, really quickly, is Auburn better than Duke?
Well, they played earlier in the year and Duke won.
Exactly.
But the circumstances were different. I think that was the ACC SEC challenge or whatever. It was on Duke's home court. It was probably earlier in the year. I think if they played again on a neutral court, Auburn would be favored by 1.5.
If they played at Duke, would Duke win?
Probably.
Right now.
Probably. Cameron Indoor is probably the best home
Okay.
court advantage in the sport.
Okay, I interrupted you just to get that in. You was giving me 4 teams. You've already given me Auburn. Give me 3 more.
Well, I'm going to take the other team from the state of Alabama, the Magnolia State, I think.
No.
I keep on...
Mississippi.
That's Mississippi. I don't know why I want Alabama to be the Magnolia State, but I just keep on trying to make it happen. Well, whatever Alabama State is...
Oh, you're talking about Troy? Oh, they're not in the SEC, so it must be Auburn and Alabama. Okay.
Yeah, Alabama made it to the Final Four last year. They returned Mark Sears and the big Grant Nelson. I think, and they've been firing on all cylinders as of late. So Alabama is also there.
Except against Missouri.
Yeah.
Okay, go. Give me 2 more. We got Alabama covered, the state of Alabama covered. And this is where I'm going to be hard, because whoever you say, I'm going to ask you, why didn't you not include another team? So give me 2 more.
Yeah, and after that it gets tough. After that it gets really tough.
To make it to the Elite Eight, is that tough?
Yeah, I don't believe in Tennessee, even though they made it to the Elite Eight last year. I just don't. Chaz Lanier has been up and down, and Tennessee as a whole has just been up and down. And I don't believe in Sakai Ziegler at this moment in time.
Okay.
I just don't see it unless they get an incredibly favorable matchup. So I'm gonna have to say Florida, even though that they lost to an arch rival. Rivalry games happen.
I absolutely think Florida is an Elite Eight team. So you've given me 3. I need 1 more.
Texas A&M, Kentucky. Well, what's the health status of Kentucky? Is Lamont Butler going to...
Well, you tell me they're coming back, right?
Well, I know Lamont Butler is supposed to be coming back tonight. And, they're one of their best players, Jackson Robinson, the former Arkansas Razorback, might also be coming back.
Yeah.
He has been having hand issues. I don't know.
Let's assume that they're all healthy come March. Who can make the Elite Eight? You're giving me 3. You're giving me 3.
I'll go with the Arkansas Razorbacks.
I like your shirt, man. Jumping Joe Johnson. Hey. I like it. You got good taste. But you know what, JJ? It's not Arkansas.
Okay, who's your 4th team?
It's either Missouri or Texas A&M. You tell me which one and tell me why.
I don't know. Wade Baldwin IV has been at Texas A&M for 75 years. He's been there since the Grant administration. I think I'm not sure. Has Bud Williams ever made it to an Elite Eight? I don't know. I know he's never made it to a Final Four.
I think he. Well, I don't know for certain, but what was he coaching?
Virginia Tech, Marquette.
Yeah, Marquette.
Yeah, and maybe he has. I was gonna say either way he's due. I think he's a good coach, even if I'm not the biggest fan. I think Dennis Cates, he's still a young guy, 45.
Very young.
Yeah, so he's still. I mean, I think he. I mean, they went
second year in the SEC.
Second year in the SEC. Third year.
Okay.
Because last year or 4th year. Because last year they went.
You're right.
Last year they went 0 for the SEC. They lost every single game, and most of those guys came back. And for whatever reason, they're a ranked team, and they're a projected 4-5 seed in the NCAA tournament. So, I think that they have I like the attitude. I like whatever he did to turn that ship around. But I still don't know if they have the talent. I think Texas A&M still has more of that. So
okay. So you're 4, Texas A&M.
I guess.
Florida and the state of Alabama.
Unfortunately, that's what I'm going to.
JJ, before we get out of here, we're going to get out of here really, really quickly. But I'm going to spend 80 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
College baseball. Last Sunday, Arkansas Razorbacks defeated those mighty Wolverines.
Sunday, I remember that day.
Yes, they did.
What happened that day?
Arkansas beat
Was that February 23rd?
They beat Michigan in Texas Ranger Stadium down in Arlington, Texas.
I was there watching it with you.
Yes, we were here and watching it on TV.
Yeah, I wasn't physically at the game.
But in addition, I'm going to talk about MSU, Michigan State.
Michigan State.
For the first time, JJ, in 9 years, guess what's going on with Michigan State's baseball team?
They're above 500?
They are ranked in the top 25.
Ooh, congratulations to Michigan State.
They are 6-1.
Okay.
And they
have wins over
Western Michigan about 4 times.
Okay.
I forget who else. The only game they lost to UCLA, which was technically a non-conference game, even though they're both in the same conference.
Because they scheduled it.
Because they're not playing each other. They're not playing a conference game this year. Because there's so many teams in the Big Ten, you can't play everybody. Because usually when you play baseball, you're playing a 3-game series, so they can't play everybody.
Well, it's not a non-conference game. It just doesn't have. It just isn't.
It's not considered a non-conference game for a conference.
It doesn't affect the conference standings.
But also, JJ, Michigan has a pitcher, Joseph, and I'm going to butcher his name.
Michigan State.
Michigan State, I'm sorry, has a pitcher. Joseph Ziowa, whatever. He's been in 2 games, JJ.
Okay.
Pitched 13 innings. Giving up 2 hits.
Okay.
In 13 innings, tell me, no runs, 2 hits, no runs. Tell me how many strikeouts he has in 13 innings.
13 innings, I'll say he has 12 strikeouts.
23.
Okay.
23. So I know it's early, but if he can keep doing what he's doing, look out for Michigan State. JJ.
It's February. Wake me up. After the college basketball season.
Okay. JJ, it's time to get out of here, man.
Yes, sir.
I like your shirt. I was going to say it, but I'm going to let you say it. Go ahead and say it.
Who they?
WPS. He wouldn't say it, but he wearing his shirt. We out here. Bam.